Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're hailing from. Welcome to a very special edition of OpenShift TV. We're joined by a couple red hatters here to talk about migrating Spring Boot to Quarkus. Now, if you're familiar with Quarkus, I think it's one of the coolest things in Java. So I will let other people explain how cool it is because we have Java champion here, Jonathan Villa Lopez, and he is going to run us through the gambit of moving from Spring Boot to Quarkus in an hour, supposedly. And also, we have Miguel Perez Colino here. I'll never say your name 100% right the first time without like stumbling. I just think of your Twitter handle, which is like 4 M's and a PC, and I'm like, why can't I just say that?
Easier.
But yes, welcome to both of you. Thanks for joining us here today, and I'm excited to hear what y'all had to say. So please take it away. Don't let me hold y'all up.
Hi, hola, good afternoon, good evening, buenas noches, buenas tardes. We are here to show a bit of experience on migrating an application from Spring Boot into Quarkus, and I will explain why, because I could be doing thousands of things instead of migrating an application, but I decided I wanted to migrate this application. And Miguel will show us an amazing tool that can help us to do this migration. So if you let me, I will share my screen.
Please do.
Okay. Let's hope everything is fine. It's okay?
Yep, looks good.
Okay, so, well, this presentation is about a challenge because it was the first time that I had, well, a contact with Quarkus. This, as I like to call it, the promised land where grass is super green and super high. Mm-hmm. So let's see, is that thing as they sell us or not? So I wanted to experience that on my own skin, on my own body. So I decided to take this challenge. So I said for myself, challenge accepted. A bit of well, the content of the presentation, in order for you to see, because I love to give good expectancies. I think life is about expectancy management, and this presentation is not anything, let's say, apart from that. So what can you expect from this presentation? I will tell you. For those of you that do not know what it is Quarkus, well, I will give you a brief introduction to it. Then I always want to do presentations that answer the why question. We can do thousands of things, but why to invest our time, money, headaches into this path? Why? What are we going to benefit from? And also we'll give you some steps of the migration, obviously. So which are the things that you need to do in order to migrate your application from Spring Boot into Quarkus, taking an example that comes from the Spring Boot repositories. Then I will give a bit, well, a shallow comparative. So you have to take this like as it is. It's a very easy comparative, taking the same metrics, but very easy. It's not intended to go super deep. Just take it as it is. It's only for you to give you like an order of magnitude of what we are talking about, and if it's really worth it to do all these things. And in the end, we will give you some references, links, tutorials, trainings, cheat sheets, and we will show you a tool that can help you a lot in order to migrate your existing applications. So who are we? Well, in order to give you a bit of context, well, I'm recently awarded as a Java champion, but I'm co-leader of the Barcelona Java user group from, well, 8 years ago. Also co-founder of the JDBC and Conf, is a conference that we host in Barcelona every year. So yeah, I know these are hard times, but let's pray for better times to come soon. If you don't have any better plan that being in Barcelona near the beach with good weather, amazing paella and good food, and also with technology, just come next July here to Barcelona. And also I pay my mortgage working for Red Hat as a, well, application modernization and migration team developer. Well, you can find here in the left all the ways to contact me, and please just follow me or contact me if I can help you on any of your migrations. I will be more than happy to do that. And Miguel, your turn.
So my name is Miguel Perez Colino. As Chris has already said, I'm product manager for the Migration Toolkit for application. It's a tool to help migrations for Java code and binaries. I've been in that for quite a while. I've been a consultant, a solution architect, and I've done several things before. I have there my Twitter handle, as Chris mentioned, like a bunch of M's and NPC. So you just start typing M's and you'll see my face appear. So it's the hack.
All right.
So,
Smart.
Well, let's see if it works. But I'm going to first thank you, Chris, for having us here. It's always so nice to come to OpenShift TV, and I always enjoy the time being here. So thanks a lot for having us here. And I'll let Jonathan continue. Thanks, Jonathan.
Thank you. Okay, so what can you expect from this presentation? Well, I'm not going to teach you anything. That's it. I am only going to show you my experience migrating, and then you are free, if you think you are free, to get all those informations and make your own opinion. What I'm going to show you is something that has been migrated and it works. It's not intended to be amazing in performance, but I decided to take a project from Spring just to be sure that at least one of the elements of the migration is okay and fine. So the comparative is not introducing 2 errors, but only 1 if I'm doing anything wrong. So that's why you are going to see, well, that I'm taking the Spring Pet Clinic REST application and converting it to Quarkus and see, well, if it's hard or easy, and if it, in the end, is it worth it or not. And you can see here the 2 versions, so 2.5 on Spring Boot and Quarkus 1.7. We are, I think we are in 1.10.3. I think in Quarkus, recently released. So yeah, but it's very hard to cope with the Quarkus cadence. So it's every 2 weeks you will find a new version, and it's amazing. So it's if you do something today, in 2 weeks you will find better things in Quarkus. Well, this presentation is full of moments that will take your brain 30 years back. So these are some screenshots of games that I invested a lot of money on those games, and I skipped so many classes in the school. Well, just think about them in order to put your attention up and down during the presentation. I love this game. Okay, so what is Quarkus? Well, Quarkus, well, this is the official definition. It's a Kubernetes native stack that you can use it in 3 different flavors, Java, Scala, or Kotlin, and it's tailored for being compatible with GraalVM compilation to a native artifact, and also it can run on the OpenJDK in the hotspot version. And also, and for me, this is one of the big differences with other options that are out there. It is that is not reinventing the wheel. So I have to say that I've been in the development world for quite a long, so it's almost 30 years now. And I have to say that I'm tired that every year a new thing comes in. You need to learn new things, new tricks. Yeah, I know some people are using these for keeping their jobs. Oh, that's okay. But for me as a user of those libraries, I'm tired. I have to admit it. So when I discovered Quarkus, that they are not reinventing the wheel, they are not introducing new APIs, they are not introducing a new learning curve, I said, come on, man, this is awesome. So I love this approach. So you are going to maintain your code if you've been using the open source way with, well, you see here 4, but there are others. I will show them in a bit. Hibernate, Vertex, Kafka, or several of them. So this is for me a very good thing that well, in comparison with other alternatives. About the Quarkus, well, it's Kubernetes native. What does it mean? That it needs to be fast and light. Because, well, it's going to run on containers. Containers are always running, let's say, in tight environment. So it's like being in a submarine. So you cannot expect to have a lot of space everywhere. So every square meter is super used. So when you are going to cloud, every meg of memory, every CPU is very I would say it needs a good purpose to be used. So you need to be light and fast, and Quarkus is both of them. So well, you can see here, well, numbers. I don't like talking about numbers. I put them here, but I don't like to talk about numbers because it all depends. But the idea that I want you to take of this is that it is super fast and super light compared to the traditional approach. I would say also that it is focused on easy to code. Well, that's good. As I said, it's not introducing a new learning curve. About being easy to code, well, but it's easy for you. It's super hard for me. So that's, for me, that's not super big deal. But I know that having this goal in mind has made that the learning curve is very low. So that's awesome for the adoption. Also, it's open source. For me, it's a must. So open source is what rules the world. So it needs to be that.
I like that.
And it also, well, I have to say that this is good, and I wouldn't say bad, but it's good, but also pressing. I mean, every 2 weeks, you will find new things, new libraries, new bugs fixed, new improvements. So it's like, well, a bit of stress. Come on. So it's like you cannot swallow everything, because soon you are going to start eating again. So it's a bit stressed, but I have to say that it's amazing, because you will see, well, that the movement behind this project is super huge. And also it has integration with tons of extensions. So what I said before about the libraries that you don't need to learn again, well, Quarkus integrates with lots of them, more than 90. So there are several, and most of them are widely used in every company, every team. So who is not using Hibernate? Well, nowadays A lot of people are using Flyway or microprofile, obviously Spring, Vertex, Camel. So, and you will find lots of them, and you will find more and more. So, well, that's that's impressive. A bit of the evolution of the tool. So we're talking about a tool that, or technology that is only more or less 2 years old, not more. But in 2 years, it has had a lot of effort behind a lot of the adoption, because a lot of people, well, now I'm talking about a JAG leader, that when I talk to people that are coming to our meetups, and everyone knows about Quarkus. They have done their POCs, they have done their pet projects with Quarkus, because it's a trend, and it's fun, I would say. So you can see that in 2 years, lots of releases have appeared. And about the performance, well, probably you have seen this slide in several places. Again, I prefer to focus on the orders of magnitude rather than on specific numbers, because the devil is behind numbers. So, but what I want you to see is that only considering memory, you can go from the traditional stack, the usual stack, that it is 136 megs. Well, if we go to the same result with Quarkus on JVM, we are going to be half consuming the memory, so half the memory. But if we go to Graal, so compiling natively, we are going to be in a relation of 1 to 10, 11. So what does it mean? Well, it means that if you have an application that you reboot every Monday, that is sitting on your on-premise server somewhere, attending dozens of requests, it means nothing for you. But if you have lots of requests, you have several microservices, now you can multiply the density by a fraction of 10. So where you had one application, now you can have 10 consuming the same memory. Well, in some cases, it can for sure reduce the most important metric in the world nowadays, money. So you can reduce your money in public clouds. That's one thing that, if it's true, well, we can invest more money on, clothes, Amazon, I don't know.
Whatever you want.
Exactly. But if we go,
you can spend less on cloud and more on engineers. For example, just say.
Sure. I was thinking more on fun and living. Yes, you're right. Okay. So in terms of memory, that looks like the promised land. But if we go to the boot time, and who is really interested on boot time? Are you? Well, I think you should be interested on boot time, because if you want to have a good scaling process where you can have only the, let's say, pods, machines, whatever, applications leaving only those that are needed, because you want to pay only for the process, the computation process that you are using, not for waiting, then this is very useful, because then you can scale very fast up But the most important thing, you can scale very fast down. So this scale to zero thing now, it's very useful because you can scale down to zero if no one is consuming your application, but you will scale up to one almost immediately in sub-second time scale. So that's another important thing that now you can think of Java in serverless. Let's talk about it later. Okay, about the Quarkus, well, magnitude, this is only for you to see that it is not like an application around the corner, two people doing something, some hackings during the nights. No, no, no. There's a lot of people putting a lot of effort in it. Obviously, an amazing company uh, mm, supporting it, but there's a lot of effort from the community also being applied into this project. Well, I put this 192 final application version, but today I upgraded my um, Kubernetes operator application to 1.10 final. So it's super fast, the upgrade cadence on Quarkus. Okay, this slide is very touchy for me because it says stage 2, but to be honest, I never finished stage 1 in this game. I assume everyone knows which game is this. No.
Not Pitfall, is it?
No.
It's not Pitfall. No.
Ghosts and Goblins.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Only the music is I don't know, like stone written in my brain. So only the music. I never finished stage 1, so I wanted to put this stage 2 in this slide.
Nice.
A lot of money invested. Oh, do you remember when you put one?
Yeah, a quarter or more
quarter.
into a machine just to play a video game and get killed in 5 minutes? Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. So what I decided to migrate, to start this migration, because I could be super happy with the Spring Boot solution. So why bothering to migrate? But it was not that case. So I've been using Spring Boot in my also past companies, and it's been always super easy to create an application. You have lots of annotations that you can add, and automatically something happens and the way to heaven, and then you have something in the end. You will probably end up with lots of annotations, but well, for that God invented the wheel in the mouse, so it's easy. You can scroll down, so that's not a problem, but I don't like it. So you always rely on thousands of annotations everywhere. And also, it had long starting times, especially when you're doing tests. It takes ages. Probably you could do it in a better way, but usually, because it's easy, when life makes it easy something, probably you will use it wrong just because it's easy. So the thing was, in every test, we were putting the context. So you start the context with dirty context because you want to have your test isolated. So I can do it. So it's 2 annotations. Okay, so every test suite is going to start the context. And in every starting the context, you will see in the log, I don't know, thousands of things happening on the background. So it's very slow. Also, it's heavyweight, so it consumes a lot of memory. With big applications, if you want to test it in local, well, sometimes it makes it very difficult. I have 32 gigs in my laptop, but to be honest, I use Chrome and Firefox tabs as bookmarks. Therefore, I have, I don't know, 4 gigs left to work. So if I start a big application using Spring Boot, it will make it very hard.
Yeah.
And also, one of the things that I don't like is losing control. So with Spring Boot, I see in the log that there are lots of things happening under the hood. So if you pay attention to your log, you will see, I don't know, histories going up for a REST app. And you can ask yourself, who asked histories to start? Well, Spring. So I don't like that. So I wanted to explore this Quarkus to see if this is different. And Quarkus, well, I had the impression that it was easy to develop application. As I said before, it's not super important for me because what it is easy for you, it's hard for me, but let's see. They say it's fast. Okay, this is important, especially in dev mode, that you want to have this speed when you are doing your tests, when you are developing, because when you are going to stage or on production, to be honest, who cares? Because it's Jenkins, it's GitHub Actions who is going to take the time. It's not me. I will be, if I'm lucky, watching Netflix. I don't know. It's somebody else. But on testing, on development, that's different. And it's also said that Quarkus is lightweight, so it consumes less memory. Fine, for me, perfect, because then I will open 10 tabs more in Chrome. That's awesome, especially Stack Overflow. So one of the points that, to be honest, made me more interested on Quarkus was this native compilation available. So you can compile your application in Java into something that natively you can put it on a machine without Java, and it will run perfectly fine. So that's very convenient in order to distribution, but also if they say it is optimized, then it will save memory, it will save CPU, and in the end, it will save money. That it is the important thing. Because also, to be honest, what I don't like in the past, where we were trying to create Amazon Lambdas, I can remember, we were using Node.js. Why? Because if you want to use a Java application, especially using Spring Boot, in an Amazon Lambda, well, that's not very effective because a Lambda needs to start very quickly and to die very quickly too. And if it's not the case, then you are not getting the benefit of having those Lambdas. Therefore, it's better to have a 24/7 service over there and not dealing with those times on the Lambdas. But with this approach, probably we could use Java. So that's a good point. So let's see which is the application. Well, you can see that the Spring Boot application is like a regular one. It has all the elements that probably every Spring application has: Spring Data, Web, Security, Swagger, Actuators, Micrometer, CDI, AOP. Probably this is not so common. AOP is very powerful, but it's not used widely. Yeah,
Jonathan,
yeah.
if I recall correctly, this was Pet Clinic application, right?
Yes.
Which is the application that everybody uses to try or to start with the Spring Boot. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
like
Thank you.
This is the community example app that everybody
the
builds
reference.
on. Right. Yeah.
This is the reference. They have different flavors of the pet clinic, and this is the REST version.
Mhm.
But yeah, Spring Pet Clinic is something that it's very, very common. And as a reference, as you said, thank you for pointing out. And in Quarkus, well, we are moving from Spring Data to Hibernate Panache, or Panache, from Spring Web to JAX-RS, Spring Security, Quarkus Security, OpenAPI. We are going to something very standard. So it's OpenAPI, not something
Proprietary. Yeah.
SmallRight health, micro profile metrics. So Quarkus is very, it uses a lot micro profile. And CDI spec, also the standard one. There's no AOP. Okay, let's see if that's a problem or not. And it uses Quarkus cache using a library called Caffeine for the local caching. In this case, what I didn't migrate was the Spring JDBC querying. So this original project comes with 3 flavors of persistence. So JDBC, Spring Data JPA, and JPA. And I focused only on the JPA, the standard one, that is the most used one, and that's it. You can do the same as Spring JDBC querying using Agral, a library, but it was not the point for comparing the 2 approaches. And I didn't migrate also the JMX just because I'm still not sure if JMX is supported on GraalVM, or at least there's no such an official statement about being supported or not supported. So I decided to not enter this field.
Fair enough.
Okay. So now we know the magnitude of the project of Quarkus. So we know there are no 2 people doing night hacking. So there's a lot of people, big company behind, community also helping out, a lot of releases and integration with lots of open source technologies. One thing. Also, now we know which is the project that we are going to migrate. So this is the Spring Pet Clinic in the REST version that it is using the common modules from Spring in mostly every Spring application into Quarkus with different libraries into it. Okay, so now let's see which are the migration steps. And this game, it's an amazing one. I think this one was the first one having like a plain space where you could enter with a seat and so on. So like the beginnings of the VR. Okay, so let's see about the CDI. Well, CDI, it's easy. If you are still using AutoWired, please move to inject and use the standard one. So it's a matter of replacing the annotation and also annotating your beans with, in this case, application scope. And yeah, more or less, that's it. It's a string replace. And it also has auto injection on constructors, and it's lazy by default, that it is super helpful for our goal is to be fast. Also now, Quarkus allows you to configure which is the implementation class that is going to be injected, depending on the profile or even a property in the properties file. This is super convenient. The Spring one was using the profile that you inject on the command line. The concept profile is not exactly the same in both cases, but in the end, the Quarkus approach can do exactly the same. So that was very, very convenient. Regarding the JPA repositories, well, it's very easy. It's about implementing Panache repository. And then you will have the usual methods that will deal with the entities associated to that repository. I have to say that I tend to think on Quarkus like something that happens during build time. So with the Spring, there's some work done on build time. So it takes time building, and there's a lot of work being done on runtime. So it's slower on runtime. With Quarkus, the approach changes. So with Quarkus, it will try to do as much work as it can on build time. So it will take longer to build, but all that work will be already done at the very beginning when it starts. So it will be faster on running mode. That's something that helps me to understand. So these are the things that will be done during build time.
So it's an investment. You invest the time in build, but then you don't spend it in running.
In running.
Right.
As everything, if you have seen the TV series Once Upon a Time, my daughter is watching it again for the second time. There's a super famous quote that says, magic always comes at a price. So everything that you can do on build time is better, but has payback. So we always have to measure this. So that's nothing. It's nothing free for free. So that's why Spring is investing a lot of effort trying to make it GraalVM compatible, because it's not easy. We have to do a lot of things on build time. And Quarkus already does it, so it's awesome. One of the things is that it doesn't have query DSL methods. So those find by name and age greater than 40. Well, we don't have that in Quarkus, but you can inject the query in the method JQL, can't remember, query. So you will use it on the method, but there's no such a thing of magically discovering the query on the JPA one. About REST, it's moving from Spring REST to JAX-RS. It's a matter of more or less a string replace, where you have REST controller, you will have path. Where you have post mapping, you will have post. The only thing that changes is with request mapping, because in Spring you will have the 3 elements. So path, method, and an argument in the same annotation. So you need to break it down, but that's it. It's very easy to also migrate it. Nothing to mention here. About security, well, we have the same. In Spring, there's a pre-authorized annotation. In Quarkus, there's roles allowed. The only difference that I found is that with Spring, you can define, or you can use as a language expression in order to filter for the roles. In the Quarkus one, well, at the time that I did the migration, I didn't find another way that simply providing a list of the roles allowed. But that's the only thing that I found. This project also had the security persisted into a database. For that, we only need to add the extension dependency, Elytron security JDBC, and configure the way to access the roles from the database in the properties file. So no code involved. So it was very easy.
Can you go back for a second,
Sure.
Jonathan? So this is something I like. This is content from the properties file, right?
Exactly.
So that's like how you're going to build the whole project. Okay. So there's one thing that I saw on Quarkus that I like a lot, and when I see this, I always remember is that you could also put in here how you're going to build the image that you're going to deploy on Kubernetes.
Oh yes.
And you could add also here the configuration to deploy it on Kubernetes. So in the same project, you have all the code and all the way that you're going to configure. So thinking like a sysadmin, you have all the configuration of how you're going to deploy with the code in one single place, which makes it super easy to replicate the deployment anywhere. So
oh yes,
another reason. Sorry, I
no,
needed to say
that's a good point, because well, we have used that approach with our MTA operator. So with one line and everything configured, so you can configure which is the tag of the image, where you are going to push it. So Docker Hub, or better, Quay.io. So everything is going to be done from Quarkus, even not needing Docker in order to build the image, because you use Zip or any other library. So yeah, from Quarkus, it's very easy to be integrated with Kubernetes in order to deploy and to create images. Yeah, they do it very easy. But nothing to mention here that I already mentioned before. With the CrossOrigin, well, it's again a matter of adding two properties in the properties file, and that's it. Nothing more. The only thing that I found is that in Quarkus, well, in Spring, you can configure the CrossOrigin at the controller level, but for Quarkus, I didn't find a way to do it, as it is configured using the properties file. So that was the only thing. But it could be that there's a way, but I couldn't find it. Regarding the metrics, well, it's a matter of adding the SmallRight metrics extension, and you will have all the system metrics the same way that you have it on Spring Boot with Micrometer. If you want to have the custom metrics, you need to annotate your methods with the micro profile annotations, and you will have the metrics. It's very easy to do it, but you are not going to have exactly the same metrics as with the micrometer, except if you use this toggle that you are going to put in the properties that you can see below, that the guys behind the micrometer, well, the SmallRight metrics extension for Quarkus created this toggle that will modify the result, making it similar to the micrometer one.
So this makes comparing the metrics before moving to Quarkus and after easier, because we're keeping the same metrics exactly. So.
Exactly. In my case, I didn't use this new, well, new. It didn't exist at the time of the migration. But you can even now use the Micrometer extension, so you don't need even to touch your Micrometer code, because it will use it directly and it will compile exactly the same as it was before with the Spring Boot one. So that's it. With validation, well, it's a matter of moving from the annotation controller advice into an implementation of ExceptionMapper. The code is very similar, but it's not exactly the same. But both are based on the annotation add valid and the constraints used on the Pojo. So it's very easy to migrate this. With the Swagger OpenAPI information, well, adding the extension, and you will have all the controllers, well, all the resources documented. And if you want to add more header information to your API, just simply extend the application class, adding this OpenAPI definition annotation, and you will have all the documentation for your API. The only thing that I found different was that I didn't find a way to do, well, in Spring, you can specify which are the paths that you want to be scanned in order to generate the Swagger documentation. In Quarkus, I didn't find a way to do the same. So it was every resource documented. In both ways, you have the Swagger UI out of the box, and it's easy to migrate. With the Spring version, they were using AOP, so aspect-oriented programming, for the metrics about the ORM. So with AOP, it's very easy to cover lots of methods with a single expression. As you can see on the left, with a single expression, it was covering all the methods in every repository. We cannot have that, but Quarkus is always a surprise. We can have the same, just adding this property, Quarkus Hibernate ORM metrics enabled in the properties file. And these will generate all the ORM metrics into the metrics output. So it's very easy, and even no need to code. Nothing to mention. Local caching, well, both are using more or less the same approach. And in the case of Quarkus, simply using the catch extension and using the annotation catch result and configuring, again, in the properties, the different capacities for every catch. So very easy. About testing, this is getting harder, because for testing, we need to modify completely our code. So we are coming from mock MVC, and we need to go to rest assured, and you need to modify completely the code. I have to say that I prefer the rest assured version, but it's a matter of taste. So I see it more clearly, I see it more clean, more understandable, but it's my taste. So it's a matter of changing the test. The difference as well, in the Spring Boot version, it was using JSON path in order to check for the result. In the rest assured, by default, it's using gpath. It's a bit different, but more or less the same. And I didn't find a way to simulate roles in the test for the security. I mean, with the Spring, you can inject directly a role into a method test in order to test for the security about that particular role. With Quarkus, I didn't find exactly the same. So what I needed is to create a role, to create a user, assign it to a role, and inject the user into the test. Well, it's the difference that I found. And with test resources, so you are not going to use PostgreSQL in your test, are you? My recommendation is yes, you should. There's a project called test containers that you should use. You should check, because it's amazing. We have used it in our project for using test containers, simulating 8 layers of the production environment with different containers running every time that our CI/CD process takes place. So I would recommend totally going to no faking, just using the real things. But in this case, we needed to check that H2 in memory database was being used. So the way is to just simply use Quarkus test resource, and we specify the class, and it will start an H2 database. And with the test profile, we are going to configure the application or the unit test in order to connect. About mocking the beans, well, it's a matter of using this dependency, Quarkus unit 5 mockito, and then using inject mock annotation, and you will have the mock of your bean in your test. And now we are arrived to a point that I say forget everything. Totally no sense. A waste of time. Just use the Spring extensions. So you have your Spring Web code. Don't touch it. Don't touch anything. Just simply add the extension to your POM, and that's it. This extension is going to use the interfaces from the Spring Web, and Quarkus will do its magic and will produce the code that it's needed, that it's compatible with GraalVM, that it's faster and it's lighter. So don't touch your code, just use your Spring thingies, and that's it. This applies to the Spring Web, also to a dependency injection. Don't touch your beans and your AutoWire. You want to use AutoWire, use AutoWire. Don't touch it. Use the extension. That's it. Also with the Spring data. And even in this case, we have query DSL methods. So again, don't touch it. Just simply use it. Well, nothing is as easy as I'm telling you. So every magic comes at a price. So you need to check that you are not using a corner case or a super advanced case that is not covered by the extension. But if you are doing what mortals are doing, the extension is enough for you. With the security, is exactly the same. Don't touch your code, just simply use the Spring extension and fine. Even there are new extensions, Cloud Config extension for Spring. So you need to check, because as I said, Quarkus people cannot be quiet, cannot be not
Idle.
moving. How you call it?
Idle?
Quieto. How you call
Idle.
it? Idle? Okay. That's it. So they are constantly moving. That's nice. Like sharks.
Yeah.
Okay. So, well, this is a famous game. So I assume everyone knows which is this game. I always used the, how do you call it? Chun-Li?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I always use her. Okay. So this is the comparative with the metrics that I got very easily and very fast. So we are going to focus on build time to see if it's worth it. I advance you that it's not worth it at all. Going with Quarkus and GraalVM is a pain, because we are coming from 4 seconds to 13 and then 145. So come on, this is no gain at all. So forget it. Build time, no good. But to be honest, who cares? I'm not asking Jenkins. I'm not asking Travis. So who cares about them? We care about us. So we are going to be focused on production. That's where we are getting our bucks, right? So boot time, the Spring Boot application that starts, connects to the database, first time, creates all the tables, populates all the data, and starts the internal web application and says, I'm ready. With the Spring Boot, it's around 7 seconds. With Quarkus in JVM, we're going to a bit more than 2.5 seconds. Okay, that's good. That's nice. But to be honest, it's not amazing. But if we don't touch our code, we only add a OpenAPI native in the command line of Maven, we are going to transform this into less than half a second to start. So we are coming from around 7 seconds to less than half a second. Well, that's very impressive. So we are, well, that's, yeah, super impressive. And if we think about memory, well, this small application takes more than 600 megs of memory at boot time. Remember your experience using a Spring, that as time passes, the application converts itself into a hogger, memory hogger, and it starts eating and eating memory. So on time, you will have more memory consumed doing more things. So we are moving from more than 600 megs to 250, but with GraalVM, we are moving to 21 megs. So for doing the same, we could have, in terms of memory, we could have 30 applications for one application of Spring Boot, only in memory. So that's amazing, because you can save a lot of money reducing or increasing the density of your clusters, or you could simply scale down the applications, the machines that you are using in Amazon, because now you need to use less resources of each machine. So you can decrease the resources needed for each machine, so pay less. And about, well, I have finished with explaining which was the path of migrating, but now I want to give you a bit of references that can help you on migrating if you decide to migrate your application or to explore this field. This game is very famous also, but this screen is very modern, so probably you know which is it. Okay, so here you have the GitHub links for the Spring Pet Clinic REST, the source, and also the migrated application. You will find there small commits where you will find the different changes that you need, that I needed to do. Also, well, the Quarkus website, the Quarkus Twitter handle, the developerredhat.com link where you will find a lot of trainings and tutorials for Quarkus, among other things. The mailing list where you can ask whenever you have any issue, any doubt, the community will answer. And about the tutorials, well, it is using a very, for me, interesting platform called Karakora that creates very interactive tutorials. So you have on the left the steps that you need to follow, and on the right you will have terminal, you will have an editor, even an OpenShift console for interacting with your web application. So you can train on different topics without messing at all with your local machine. So it's very convenient. Also, I recommend you to check this cheat sheet from my colleague Alex Soto that has all the changes for all the versions appearing on Quarkus. So it's a very useful and handy resource to check. If you want to start your application, well, go to code.quarkus.io and you will configure which are the libraries that you want, and it will produce a zip file with the skeleton of your application. So everything is configured for you. And now an amazing tool that Miguel is going to explain us. So if you want, I can stop sharing and you can share your screen.
Cool.
Okay.
So I'm glad that you have seen all the process that Jonathan followed to be able to migrate from Spring Boot to Quarkus. So can you see the screen now, right?
Yep.
Yes. Okay. So the thing is that we have this tool, Migration Toolkit for applications, that has many paths to migrate. So you have your Java application, it will review it with, and it will help you bring it to, for example, JDBC AP7, or it will have rules to containerize it. So you're using the right, for example, the way to have shared sessions is not against what you would use in containers. Also, if you want to move to Linux, JDK, and so on. And we have added, and you see it down there, a Quarkus target, you see. So right now, these two can make an examination of your Java code and help you bring it to Quarkus. And they, I mean, normally it's for Spring code and help you bring it to Quarkus. So the idea is that we have also added a new interface for rules to make it easy to review the rules and to add your own rules. And the thing is that all the experience that Jonathan has shown and more about migrating from Spring Boot to Quarkus was added in rules to this tool. So right now, this latest version that we released last week of MTA, of the Migration Toolkit for Applications, includes 22 rules to migrate from Spring Boot to Quarkus that will detect, hey, this is what you need to change. This is what you need to take a look at. Okay.
Nice.
So we are still building more rules and we want to make it more complete. But so far, we have a friend, Roman Martin, that has already tried this with real world code with a customer and helped us bring even more fixes and improve the rules that we already have. So I think it's ready for people to go and try it. And if they see any issue, please ping us. You have the website there, red.ht/MTA. And if you go there, you will be able to download it and try it. And you'll see a couple of videos that will help you use it. As usual, everything open source. So you see the WindUp GitHub repo that is available for anyone to go and check the code. And of course, pull requests to welcome.
Always.
So if you're
always welcome.
Building your rules, please share them. Come on, send it to us. We will review them with you and we can include them in the product. So next time you download it, your rule is there. You don't have to include it anymore. So yeah. And well, this is how it looks when you do an analysis of a Java application, of a Spring Boot application, and you get all the notifications of this is what you should take care of with suggestions on how to change it. Also, it can be integrated into Visual Studio Code, Eclipse, or Eclipse.js, and of course, the version of Eclipse and Eclipse.js that we curated, Red Hat, Code Ready Studio, and Code Ready Workspaces that are available also for free for people to try them and to work with them. And well, you will be able to use the plugin for the Migration Toolkit for Applications there and get recommendations within your code. And of course, something that Jonathan has been working lately, he built with Quarkus an operator to deploy MTA on your OpenShift environment. So if you're using OpenShift, you could go there, look for the operator, click there, and let it do its magic. Well, it's not magic. This is science, let's say. Okay, and it will deploy MTA on your OpenShift environment, and you will be able to do it. So one more thing. I normally talk to developers as a product manager of a tool to migrate applications. And the teams working with the Spring Boot are the ones that are normally looking at Quarkus. And they come for the speed and they stay for the productivity. The example of Vodafone that we have here is really good. They reduce 30% the amount of code for the same applications. So they have to maintain 30% less code with 30% less likely to have security issues or bugs. So again, they come for the speed, they stay for the productivity, and we want you to use MTA to perform this change and make it easier for you. And that's it. I hope you know all the video games, Chris, right?
Well, I got most of them. You saw I had one of my favorite games growing up was Afterburner on the Sega game system, their 8-bit version before the Genesis came out. I love that game. And this is obviously what, Mortal Kombat? It looks Mortal Kombat-y.
Metal Slug.
Oh my gosh, I'm terrible at this. Well, well, it's been a great presentation, regardless how bad I've been at identifying the video games. Jonathan, thank you. Miguel, thank you. Not a lot of questions in chat, but like questions of will this be available later and where are the slides? So you've done a good job explaining it, and I'm sure people will be rewatching this video in the future. Is there anything you want to suggest or throw in at the last minute while we have a second here?
Oh yeah, we have a Twitter account, MTA by Red Hat. So
Okay.
if you go and check the Twitter account, MTA by Red Hat, and follow it, you'll get all the updates on what we are releasing, when we are releasing it, what are we working on, or what is coming. So
awesome.
And any results that we create, videos or documentation or whatever, normally we post it there so people could go and check for it.
All right, I just dropped that in the chat just in case anybody said, oh, it follows me. Perfect. I should follow it back. Awesome. All right. Thank you both very much for joining us today. Wonderful presentation. Catch us tomorrow. Sometime tomorrow around noonish Eastern time. We'll be talking about multi-cluster manage. Wow. I am looking. Sorry, folks. I've been all over the map today. We have a very full day tomorrow, starting with the Level Up Hour. I was looking back at June. That's why I was confused. So yes, full fun day of streaming tomorrow for everybody. Please join us here on OpenShift TV. Thank you, Miguel. Thank you, Jonathan. I look forward to seeing you in the future. And if I don't see you by the end of this week, have a wonderful holidays and a happy new year.
The same for you.
You too.
Thank you. Bye all.
Bye.
Bye.